They were willing to be violent in their protest towards the war in Vietnam. So the war in Vietnam was violent, and they resorted to violence to stop the violence. And that's not a loving act. You can't resort to violence and hope that violence stops, because violence perpetrates violence. Historically, we know this now for generations, that violence perpetrates more violence. So we can't expect to stop violence by rebelling against a violent act by becoming violent ourselves. So these were mistakes that were made in the 60s, I believe. But there were also some good changes that occurred in the same era, because people started to see inequality. And inequality is never a positive thing for the earth or for any person on it. Even the people who have an excess, it's not good for them to have inequality, because they then develop arrogance and they develop this idea that they are superior to others, and that causes them to act then in violent ways towards others because they believe themselves to be better. So having too much or too little is also a problem, either direction. We are able to generate societies and politics that are not communistic in their nature, but actually do support the free will of the individual, but also include love in the entire politics. And at the moment that's not seen on the planet either, but that is also possible. There is enough intelligent people on the planet. You know, you're going to university, you know, the room is probably full of intelligent people. Yes. There's enough intelligent people on the planet for us to change. The key is whether we badly want to or not. Really, so it gets down to our underlying personal motivations. Are we willing to actually change our personal life in the direction that we feel the world should change? And that's the thing that myself and Mary are attempting to do, to change our personal life in the same direction that we would like to see the world to change. And we feel that if we do these things strongly enough and with enough motivation, and our motivation has to be based upon love, then sooner or later people will listen rather than just attack. You know, so we've been accused many times of being like leaders of a cult or some kind of religion or whatever, none of which is true. You know, as you can see in our house here, we've got no fences or gates or whatever else, and you walked in the front and there was no fences in the front. We've got a little 2-bedroom house of our own. We're not into having huge amounts of money. If I did have huge amounts of money, I know where I'd go and spend it. And, you know, and it would be to help a lot of these problems on the planet. But the reality is, you can see from the way that, even just by visiting us once, by the way we live our life, we're not bossing people around, telling them what to do. We're just suggesting